Welcome to my presentation about the future of organ transplantation and its hurdles. What is organ transplantation? Organ transplantation is a treatment option for patients with major organ dysfunctions. It involves surgically removing the old organ to be replaced and inserting a new one, effectively changing the parts of the human body. Of course, this doesn't come without its own set of risks, which I'll go into later. As a basic overview, you can break organ transplantation down into 5 steps. A patient requires a new organ. An organ must be recovered from a donor. This organ must be preserved during transplantation and preparation. The surgery to transplant the organ occurs, and then, after surgery, care and recovery for the patient. Our current understanding. First of all, not everyone needs all their organs. We have 2 kidneys, so if you're fit and healthy, it is possible to live with only one with no major effects. And while we do need our liver to live without dialysis, it's also an incredibly regenerative organ, as it is exposed to many chemicals in the body which can potentially induce cell death. This makes it possible for surgeons to literally remove half the liver and implant it in the recipient. After that, both the left half and half implanted regenerate to their original capacity. So that's living donation. As for deceased donors, in addition to the kidney and liver, there's heart, lung, pancreas, stomach, and intestine that are the visceral organs being donated. These main organs can only be obtained from deceased donors due to their crucial function within the human body. The donor problem. Unfortunately, there aren't enough organs for transplants available. Currently, there are approximately 1,600 people on Australian organ transplant waiting lists, and they're mostly waiting between 6 months and 4 years for an eligible donor to be found. Obviously, this is a huge danger for patients with urgent transplantation needs, but not to be understated is the quality of life reduction for those people on the waiting lists, for multiple years requiring ongoing medical procedures like dialysis. Dangers of transplantation. One of these dangers is transplantation rejection. This can occur when the host's immune system recognizes the new organ as foreign tissue and attempts to destroy it. This occurs through an adaptive immune response. This is a subsection of the immune system which involves acquired immunity over time. So as the body begins to accept the new organ, it starts up these processes, such as humoral immunity boosting the production of antibodies, marking the cells for destructions, and cellular immunity triggering phagocytes and T cells to remove the invaders. And all this could only take a few days to occur and may reoccur throughout the remainder of their lives. This isn't ideal, so we take a number of steps to ensure this doesn't happen. The donor and recipient must share a blood type, and that blood can't show any antibodies which may interfere. Then a histocompatibility test can be done. This is where certain alleles within identified genes are assessed to ensure a match between donor and recipient. Finding a stranger with a perfect match for all of these can be incredibly difficult. Luckily, family members with a close genetic relationship can increase this chance for match. In the case of identical twins, there will never be a major rejection through these mechanisms. And if worse comes to worse, and no perfect match can be found in an emergency, immunosuppressant drugs can mitigate the worst of these effects. Current research. The preservation of organs after donation is a huge issue which has many potential solutions. One solution has been to cool the organs to about 5 degrees after being flushed with a preservative solution which inhibits the swelling of cells at this low temperature. While this can produce good results, most organs can only be stored using this method for a short period of time, as the risk of transplantation failing rises the longer the organ is at hypothermic temperatures. Another method of preservation is machine perfusion. This involves simulating the internal conditions after organ recovery. Major arteries and veins are connected to a machine which pumps oxygenated blood throughout it with organ-specific settings and conditions. So far, all of these methods for external preservation currently only give organs a shelf life of a few days at best. Which brings me to in vivo organ preservation. Out of every tool we have at our disposal, the human body is still the best machine to keep our organs alive. Our bodies are built to protect and care for every aspect of them for the duration of our lives. Unfortunately, this is really only an ethical method after brain death for a patient, which limits the applicability of this technique in a number of cases. In a beating heart cadaver, a patient whose entire brain, including brainstem, has died, organs can sometimes survive for months with intensive care for breathing, hormone levels, temperature, blood controls, and everything the brain would have usually monitored. Enabling this to happen is the majority of organs' semi-autonomous natures. This includes the heart's backup pacemaker cells. These will continue firing electrical signals even after death, allowing the oxygenation of blood. Tissue engineering is a field under research currently for organ transplantation. In the ideal scenario, a few cells could be taken and cultivated into an organ. Stem cells are used in this process due to the extremely large volume of cells needed. What makes these cells ideal is their ability to self-replicate and generate the specialized types of cells needed through differentiation. One of the reasons this would be ideal is since cells can be taken from the patient, there would be little chance of rejection due to a matching genetic makeup. For all intents and purposes, barring surgical complications, the original organ has been restored to full health. While all these developments in isolation do help the transplantation problem, it's only through a large-scale build-up of these ideas that we can truly eliminate the insufficient supply and risks of organ transplantation. Thanks for listening.